And a very pleasant good afternoon to you, wherever you may be. 1 o'clock on the East, 10 o'clock a.m. on the West Coast. Charlie O, Vasu, Vaddiparty coming up on this episode of the Make the Money and Run podcast. We had another no-hitter last night in Major League Baseball. How hot is Kyle Schwarber? And boy, oh boy, what a way for the Tampa Bay Rays to win a game last night. The Bay Bridge Series is going to start here in the Bay Area for us. Oakland, San Francisco. Surprisingly, the A's are favored. We'll get to all that and more as we get to the Make the Money and Run podcast for June 25th, 2010. New times here. Let's put that up here. Make the Money and Run podcast every Monday, 3 Eastern, 12 Pacific, Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and today being Friday, our first show, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. You can download, subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeart, SoundCloud, or anywhere you see that logo on any of your podcasting outlets. Charlie O, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm a little tired. I was up babysitting 7 3-day-old puppies last night, English cream golden retrievers, and I will be babysitting up to 30 brand new puppies sometime between now and next week. So my daughter's a dog breeder, so all the family gets involved.
Wow. All right, well, let's get to the NBA right away here. How about the game last night? The Clippers kind of felt like they were out of it again, just like we thought after they were down 0-2 to Utah. Here they are. They come back and win 106-92 to take game 3, a very important game 3 of the series. 106-92. They were a 1-point underdog. They were at Sorry about that. Anyway, they were 106-92 victory. They were a 1-point underdog. The over-under stayed under at 221.5. It ended up only at 198. Both Charlie and I had that under as well too. So game 4, it's been moved down to a pick'em. It's 218.5. The Clippers have won 4 straight. Clippers won 4 straight versus the Jazz after falling 2-0 down the last series. Can they do it again, Charlie?
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, Ty Lue, now known as the Bill Belichick of the NBA. I mean, if I were him, I would call Belichick and say, "Send me a hoodie." I mean, since they don't have to wear suits right now anyway, I would have Belichick send me a hoodie with the sleeves cut off and wear them on the sidelines, because he has been a master of mixing and matching starting lineups. Without the claw being available, because nobody's talking about how bad that knee is and that ACL, which makes me believe that we're not going to see him at all, at least during this series. And if they should get to the finals, who knows? But right now, Terrence Mann and Patrick Beverley, and then also Paul George, of course, just carrying this team. And last night's performance, phenomenal. And defense has been carrying them. And I'm frankly, Vasu, I'm shocked to hear what that over-under total is right now. And I'm going to be very honest with you. Today, I am going out and putting money down on that 218 total and taking the under, because these games have been coming in way under the way that the Clippers are. Because I was going to say, I didn't know whether the totals have gotten posted yet. And I was expecting that total to come in way closer to maybe 210, 209, because they just have not been approaching those totals at all. And I got to tell you, at 218, that's a no-brainer to me. Take the under and go to the bank and cash that ticket right now.
Paul George had 27. Reggie Jackson had 23. He's played well in these playoffs. I think he shoots a little too much still for my taste, but he's been playing pretty well. What'd you think of Chris Paul last night coming back from his whatever mysterious ailment he had, whether it was COVID related? I still think that he went into COVID protocol. They probably used that as an excuse, because I'm sure that it had a lot to do with it. I shouldn't say that because COVID's very serious, but I'm sure a lot of it had to do with how good his shoulder was as well too. And I don't think he wanted to give away any injury report if they didn't have to with regards to Chris Paul and his shoulder, because we saw how bad it was during the Denver series, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know, and COVID is right now a good cover story, because everybody goes, "Oh, COVID, okay," and you're done. You know, you don't talk anymore about it. So I think your point's well taken. And, you know, he looked like a guy had been off for a few days. And that's to be to be understood, that when you come back, sometimes you're just not as sharp as you're going to be. And the other thing is, the guy that he's dependent on in the backcourt as well, in Devin Booker, was off too. And part of the reason why he was off is, you know, he had Plastic Man on his face last night.
Yeah.
And, you know, shooters have problems when they come back having to wear those masks for the first time, in particular, because they have that pressure on their face. And it's odd, you know, it's just odd to have those things on. Now, usually after the first game, they start to get used to it and they know about what it's going to feel and what it's going to be like to make contact. And so they're usually better in that second game. But both of them were just off their game last night, and it hurt. It hurt the Suns badly. So I thought Paul was okay, but that's kind of what I really expected from him. I didn't have any expectations beyond okay last night.
Devin Booker had 15 points. He was 5 of 21 from the field, 1 of 7 from three. Far cry from his 40 points in game one. Chris Paul was 5 of 19, had 12 assists and 15 points as well. But how about DeAndre Ayton? 9 of 13. He rebounded the ball pretty well. I don't see his rebound stats here. But DeAndre Ayton, 18 points, 9 rebounds, no assists. He was 9 of 13 from the field, missed his only free throw. But there were a lot of plus minuses on the minus side here. They got close later in the third quarter with a 12-0 run, and I thought maybe Phoenix would take over. But this is their first loss. This is their first loss in the playoffs so far, with them coming up with the first loss against the Clippers. So see how Game 4 goes. What's your early take on Game 4? We know we talked about the under, but what has to happen in Game 4 for Phoenix to come back and take that 3-1 series lead? Because you don't want to be even going back to Phoenix, because Phoenix still probably the best defensive team of the 4 teams that are left right now. And but if they go back 2-2 even, then the Clippers have a shot at taking that Game 5 and stealing that Game 5 like they did with Utah, and then coming back home for Game 6, Charlie.
Well, shooting wise, they've just got to be more efficient in this Game 4. I mean, last night, Paul and Booker combined for 30 points, and they were 10 for 40 from the field, and they were 3 for 14 from three-point land. Now, you're not particularly looking for a ton of three-pointers from Booker, but you are looking for more than that from Chris Paul. But the other thing is that you're looking particularly from Booker for him to be much more efficient from that, from mid-court range. Not mid-court, from mid-range at half court. So they've got to be more efficient in their shooting. When they're taking a combined 40 shots, they've got to hit more than 10 of them. If they have that kind of game again, they're going to lose. And one of the reasons why they weren't hitting those was because the Clippers were playing vicious defense. So they've got to come up with a scheme to work that around. And it may be, and okay, here I go trying to sound like a coach, which I'm not, but it may be as simple as literally making the extra pass. Sometimes that's what it takes to break down a defense, is making one additional pass in order to find that open man, and then you can break down that defense and go back and find your regular shooter. So they may need to find one additional guy who can shoot. Saturday night,
8:30, I believe, on ESPN. Clippers and Suns will go, and Game 4 taking place, a critical game for the Clippers, actually a critical game for both teams, because 2-2 is a lot different than 3-1. We'll see how that goes. All right, moving on to the East. How about the Trae Young show? Apparently, if you haven't heard of Trae Young, he's right there in front of you, all 5'8" of him, being the most dominant player in the Eastern Conference playoffs for sure. And he didn't have a great year this year. He was injured a little bit, and Atlanta's defense picked up once Nate McMillan became the coach. But 48 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, and a little shimmy on one of the threes to show Milwaukee that they're here to stay. Plus 8-point underdog. They win the game outright, 116-113 on Wednesday. They're a little bit behind in the series for Phoenix and the Clippers. They're playing Game 2 tonight. The line's 7.5 for Milwaukee, and the total 225. Now, they did score some points the other night, Charlie, as far as the over-under goes, but Milwaukee defensively, and I know offensively they have their struggles when Middleton doesn't shoot well, and Giannis's free throw line problems are well documented. I mean, they're not Ben Simmons, but they're pretty darn close from that standpoint. But 7.5 points too much for the Atlanta Hawks tonight, Charlie?
Not necessarily. I mean, Trae Young is man. I mean, this kid's a phenomena, and they did that the other night without having Bogdanovich available most of the night to shoot threes and open up the floor for him. Boogie had to come out of the game about 20 minutes into the game, maybe even a little sooner than that, because he was obviously not feeling well. So he had to come out early. So no, I don't think that's too much for them. They are a phenomenal team at this point. And I'm going to sound cliche-ish here, Vasu.
No, Charlie, don't do that.
But, well, you know what? I'm going to, and because sometimes they work, and in this case, it's going to work. What do they have to lose? These guys should not be here. I mean, this is a team who was so bad, they fired their regular coach. Right. I mean, their coach is an interim coach, for heaven's sakes.
I think he might be permanent by
well, I think so too at this point. But technically, he is still an interim coach, and he's got him in the Eastern Conference Finals. So what do they have to lose? So they're playing loose. And when you have a team that's playing loose, they even become more dangerous because the expectation level on them is low. And last night, you forget about things sometimes, but you forget that Trae Young was a trade piece in his draft because the Hawks had Doncic, and they traded Doncic back to the Mavs in order to get Young. And you go,
yeah.
And who's making it this high up in the playoffs right now? It's Young, not Doncic. Doncic is on a team that's blowing up right now in the front office and on the sidelines, and Trae Young is taking his team, potentially knocking on the door to the finals. So yeah, I think that Atlanta right now is the most dangerous team left in the playoffs, just because nothing at all to lose.
Well, this is make the money and run, so they are playing with house money, which is where all of us would like to be in terms of profitability. And right now, the Atlanta Hawks are certainly trending high. Just to recap the other night, Trae Young, 48 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds. John Collins, 23 points, 15 rebounds. He's coming to his own a little bit. Kevin Huerter had the big game 7 against the Sixers. And Clint Capella, we thought he might match up well with Joel Embiid. Embiid did dominate him a few of those games, but 12 points, 19 rebounds for Clint Capella, and I don't think Brook Lopez can stop him. It certainly doesn't seem like Brook Lopez can stop him. Giannis had 34 points. Antetokounmpo, 34 points on 14 of 25 from the field. He was 6 of 8 from the free throw line, 41 minutes, so that's a good night for him. Drew Holiday came out of a shooting slump, 33 points, 10 assists. Actually, Giannis was 1 assist away from a triple-double. But Chris Middleton, 6 of 23, 0 of 9 from threes. He hits any of those threes, that's a Milwaukee victory on Wednesday night. 3 of 4 from the free throw line, but 6 of 23, Charlie, for Chris Middleton, who's a better shooter than that. I mean, he's a 50-40. They talk about Kevin Durant. They talk about Steph Curry. Chris Middleton is a 50-40-90 guy, and for those that don't know, that's 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line. Only a handful of guys are 50-40-90 guys, and so what's going on with Chris Middleton? I don't know if Atlanta's playing that great a defense, but he didn't have a great shooting series in the previous series either against Brooklyn.
I think that Atlanta right now is the beneficiary of Middleton being in a slump. And, why do guys slump? Who knows? It can't. I mean, I think we sometimes forget that the playoffs come at the end of a season. And now I know we only had a 72-game season, but we had a compressed 72-game season where they played a lot of games in a compressed period of time, and they had to start sooner than they wanted to after coming off the bubble. So maybe a lot of games in a short period of time have caught up with them. Who knows? Maybe he had some COVID symptoms that we don't know about. I mean, there are so many variables right now that coming into this for players. I mean, seriously, there are so many things that we don't know about that it's just, I mean, has he been vaccinated? Has he been exposed to somebody who has a variant and he's not feeling good? Who knows? I mean, it makes and they're not going to come out and tell you that. So the ups and downs, I think probably more than anything else, he's just tired, in a slump, and it's been a long season.
No doubt about it, but this is the worst time to go into a slump. But we thought there might be injury issues coming into the playoffs because of the compressed schedule. They didn't have a lot of back-to-back games this year, but the fact that they didn't have as much time in the offseason as they did coming in, especially for the teams that went later, I think it affected the Lakers quite a bit. It clearly affected the Miami Heat, by the way. Oh, by the way, shout out to Miami, Tyler Hero and the 2 assistants over there. I'm sure everybody's heard about that awful incident with the condo that just fell. Apparently it was sinking, and they still have 99 people unaccounted for. One person did die, but Tyler Hero, 2 Heat assistants, they went down there from the arena, helped out with food for the first responders. Just a terrible situation and a year of terrible things that we've had the last couple of years. It's unbelievable what's happening, and I don't know what the building codes are in Florida. I used to live in Florida 2 different times, so I'm not sure exactly where it is. They're in Miami. Mine was in St. Petersburg, but what a terrible story to hear. But props to Tyler Hero, young man that's thinking about other people before himself, and that's good. So sending good thoughts out to everybody in the Miami area. Hopefully everybody is accounted for. Good, bad, or indifferent, I guess, is the best way to go. All right.
Yeah, that man. When I saw that security video, and the time of day that it was, wow. And again, yeah, I just want to mirror your thoughts. So cool of those guys to just jump to it and get out there and be a part of that. That's players becoming a part of their community and saying, "This is my home."
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, last NBA note: Rick Carlisle going back to the Indiana Pacers. He spent 5 years there, and now with Nate Bjorkson out after 1 year, surprisingly, he only got 1 year there. But then we watched the Pacers all year, Charlie, and they did make the play-in round. But, boy, they were terrible on defense this year. And granted, they didn't have T.J. Warren at all the whole year, and he's a big part of their offense and a very good defensive player. But, boy, Sabonis didn't have the kind of year that he's normally had to. He is an all-star center for them. But giving up routinely 120, 125 points. What did they give up against Washington in the play-in game? Like 140 points, something like that. You can't coach in this league giving up that many points. And even though we joked about it, the overs and unders were in the 230s and 240s. You just can't play NBA basketball like that if you're just shooting in a gym. So Rick Carlisle goes back. He'll bring a little bit of that red ass, for lack of a better word, back to Indiana. Ken Sterling, our colleague, Sables Media, big Indiana Pacers fan, so I'm sure he's happy about the choice there. And very cool of Rick Carlisle to endorse Jason Kidd to be the next coach for the Mavericks. Mavericks having a tough time right now with their front office and Mark Cuban and their de facto general manager. They parted ways with Donnie Nelson a few weeks ago, so it's just going to be an interesting scene to see what happens. I know they're going to try and keep Doncic happy. He's their, as Charlie mentioned, he was the trade piece for Trae Young. So you just got to make sure that he's there and he's all in as far as the coming back to normal 2021, 2022 season for the Dallas Mavericks. But what do you think about Rick Carlisle at Indiana and what's going on in Dallas? And hopefully Luka Doncic realizes that he can't get teed up and miss games, because he was that close to missing games in the playoffs. And they probably had a shot to beat the Clippers in that Game 7. They were right there, and they didn't get past it. And then all of a sudden, Rick Carlisle goes, the front office blows up, Charlie. It just went from one catapult to another, basically.
Well, I think, first of all, Rick to Indiana, I mean, the Pacers instantly get better. I mean, you don't say that a lot about coaches and teams, but, obviously their coaching change didn't work. And, oh, by the way, that Nate McMillan guy will never be able to coach and win games.
Yeah, right.
I just want you to know that worked out really well. But they've got an experienced coach, a coach that's been there, a coach that they like. If the front office works with them and they get him some players, they're going to be very happy. It's going to take them a while. They're not going to become an instant championship running team next year, but they're going to get into the playoffs. They're going to make things happen. He knows how to coach basketball, so it's going to make him very happy in Indiana. And Vasu, I'm one who believes there comes a time when a coach has got to leave. A guy like Pop, he's an outlier, not the norm in today's pro sports. The age of a guy being there 20 seasons, that's not going to be the case anymore. I don't particularly care for that, but it is what it is. So I'm not gonna rant on that. It just is what it is. And I think Carlisle's time at Dallas was just done. Whatever the reasons, it just was done. But I have to tell you, why is it Jason Kidd? Why is it and I think it's funnier than all get out that Rick Carlisle says, hey, yeah, I'd pick Jason Kidd. I would say pick Jason Kidd too, because I'd want him to pick some guy that I think is going to collapse and ruin the team. Okay, Jason Kidd, first of all, has a losing record in the NBA. Okay, has a losing record. Okay, now I know we all can change, but if you look at the history of Jason Kidd as a person in the NBA, he's a mess. He's an absolute stinking mess. And you're going to put this guy in charge of potentially one of the greatest superstars in the recent history of the NBA. Mark Cuban, have you lost your mind? Have you lost your mind? You've got more money than God. You can get anybody you want in the world to coach there. And you're going to Jason Kidd? He doesn't win. You need winners. You go on a TV show every week with people bringing you ideas, and you talk about, well, it's a winner or it's a loser. Look at me, Shark Tank. It's a loser. It's a loser.
I'll say this. Jason Kidd started 2 different stints with the Mavericks. He won a world championship. I know his record in Milwaukee was not very good with Giannis and the New Jersey Nets when he was there with the New Jersey Nets. But I'm not going to give up on him, because I think he can. I think he can coach Doncic. You could be right. The way his offense is run, we'll figure it out. He'll figure it out, and they'll figure out if Doncic can mesh in that offensive set that they've got. But you know what? Carlisle's time was done. He won a championship with them, so good for him. And good luck with him to Indiana. He's going to the East where he can compete. That Indiana team is better than they showed this year, and they can compete. All right. One more little topic here of the NHL before we go to break here. How about that game last night
in Montreal?
Canada stand up and take a bow. Plus 1,100 to start the Final Four playoffs with Montreal and Las Vegas. By the way, Las Vegas was the favorite amongst the 4 teams at plus 110 to win the Stanley Cup. 3-2 final in OT. Montreal wins the game. They win game 6. They are going to the Stanley Cup for the first time since 1993 when they took on the LA Kings and when Barry Melrose and his mullet was the head coach of the LA Kings. Back in 1993, they ended up winning the Stanley Cup this year. Canada, take a bow. You have a team in the Stanley Cup for the first time in a number of years. The Toronto Maple Leafs haven't been there. Ottawa was there. Vancouver was in the Stanley Cup one time. And Edmonton, of course, all the history with Edmonton back in the 70s and 80s. But it's been a while since Canada's had a team represent the Stanley Cup, one of the competitors in the Stanley Cup. So now they await Game 7 tonight. And I love Game 7s. I don't care if it's ping pong balls. I don't care if it's table tennis. I don't care if it's anything. Game 7, a deciding eliminated game, is outstanding. I will have one eye on the hockey tonight while I'm watching A's and Giants. Dodgers Cubs. I'll be working Dodgers Cubs tomorrow. But New York slipped a victory big by Tampa Bay in Game 6 at home. The series is tied at 3-3. Tampa Bay, a 165 favorite. The total 5. Remember what they did at home last time, Tampa Bay, when Rudder got hurt with the cross check. They decided that they were going to get mad, and they dumped 5 more goals on the Islanders in an 8-0 demolishing of New York on Wednesday night. But Game 7, Charlie, my favorite words in playoff sports. Any Game 7, any sport. Let me have it. What do you think?
Oh, listen, the only thing that'll make it better is when it's a game 7 and it does a double overtime. Okay. And a sudden death double overtime in hockey. Then you can just, you can be under the table. You can be under the table, very inebriated, screaming your head off, and your neighbor's going, "What is wrong with them?"
It's game 7, baby. That's what it is.
It's great for hockey. Great for hockey, and I'm, I really am excited for Canadians to have a team back in the Stanley Cup. I mean, it's been horrible that they haven't, first of all, Toronto's just been letting everybody down for so long, and to have the Habs back in, that's great. And so it's things are starting to right themselves in the world when you have a Canadian team back in the Stanley Cup. So COVID-19, take that. We've got a Canadian team in the Stanley Cup. So things are starting to get right. I'm excited about it. And I can't think of the guy's name last night who made that incredible move where he knocked the puck, put it around the defender, and got the puck back to himself, and then scored the goal. I mean, that was one of the prettiest hockey moves that I have seen in years. And I can't skate a lick. I love to watch hockey. I can't skate a lick. And I see a guy do that, and I've tried to skate, and knowing that takes such incredible balance. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see tonight. Game 7 in St. Petersburg. I have Tampa Bay personally, and I probably will take Tampa Bay tonight as well. They play well at home. One other note on Las Vegas, Marc-Andre Fleury did not have a good playoff series. Robin Lerner gave up the game-winning goal in the overtime, about 1:39 into the overtime. And Montreal is going to the Stanley Cup. If you have tickets available still for the Montreal Canadiens on your sports book, you're going to get plus 1,100 if they end up winning the Stanley Cup. So that's no chump change there. Plus 1,100, no matter what your dollar amount you put on it. So it'll be an interesting game tonight. Tampa Bay 165-5 the total against the Islanders. St. Petersburg will be rocking tonight. It'll be interesting to see. I'll have one TV on and watch Game 7 because there's nothing like Game 7 in playoff hockey, and that's coming from a baseball guy, a basketball guy, and a football guy. Believe me when I say that. All right, we're going to talk a lot of baseball after the break, 30 seconds. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O here on Friday, June 25th. We'll see you in 30. Talk about a lot of things in Major League Baseball going on this weekend. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast for Friday, June 25th, 2021. Vasu Vaddiparty and Charlie O here with you. This is our new time on Fridays, 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on Fridays, and on Mondays at 3 Eastern and 12 Pacific, and then Thursdays at noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific as well. Charlie, let's move on to some baseball here. You with me?
I am. I'm just looking at the computer. No, I fell asleep. No,
we're not that boring yet. But let's get to some Major League Baseball here before we get to our worldwide famous unsponsored pick segment. At the end, it's still unsponsored. Come on, somebody step up for the sponsored picks. We're hot right now. Charlie 3-0 yesterday. All right, so Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 3 different times. We want to make sure we get in shows before all the games start. So that's why we chose those times. And plus, Mondays are Mondays. It's got to be noon. It's got to be noon or nothing earlier than noon for me on Monday. So we go from there. All right, let's get to some Major League Baseball notes. Kyle Schwarber is very hot right now. Dodgers have lost 5 in a row, combined no-hitter by the Cubs pitchers, starting with Zach Davies. The Reds beat the Braves for their second win in a row. Tony Santillan going to turn out to be a pretty good pitcher for the Reds this year. And their offense starting to come back in. Joey Votto had an RBI single. He's back as well, too. How about the Houston Astros? 2-game lead on the Oakland A's. 11 in a row they've won. I know they played the Orioles and the Tigers, but they did sweep the White Sox in 4 games last week, and that's not easy, whether you're at home or on the road. 1.82 ERA during this win streak. They are knocking the cover off the ball, Charlie. They're plus 144 in run differential now. And then Kyle Schwarber, ever since that Giants series, but this is his last 15 games, which goes past that, Kyle Schwarber vying for player of the month in June. 1397 OPS, 1,000 slugging percentage, 397 on base percentage, 12 home runs, 24 RBIs in his last 15 games. He hit 2 last night against the Miami Marlins. He's got 21 for the year. He's got 49 RBIs. And the leadoff spot for the Washington Nationals seems to fit him very nicely, Charlie O.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in the last 5 games, he has 8 home runs and 15 RBI. And that's only been done, if I remember right, it's only been done like 5 times in the history of the major leagues. And I saw who else had done it, and I saw it like at 4 a.m. when I was moving puppies around. And so it escapes me now who else it was that did it. But, I mean, the guy is on fire. So, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And, we're seeing some of these things right now. Is it in correlation to the fact that we're now checking baseballs and we're checking players and all this kind of stuff? I don't know. Who knows? But we're seeing some phenomenal performances at the plate. And I'm loving it. I mean, I watched an extended highlights yesterday on the Yankees game, and Aaron Judge is coming back, and all of them, and we're seeing some offense. And Vasu, it's funny. I was talking to my grandson yesterday, and I was saying, I'm old school. A 1-0 pitcher's duel to me, I love it.
Yeah,
okay,
me too.
But I'm not the future butts in the stands for Major League Baseball. And the younger demographic loves offense. And you know what? So do I.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be lying to say that I don't love to see Schwarber or Joey Votto or Aaron Judge when they get a hold of one and send it over the fence. I love it. It's great. So, if fans want offense, let's put it on an even keel and let's see some offense. And we're starting to see it, and it's pretty exciting.
Very interesting. Some of the standings. The Red Sox have, with the 2 losses to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, by the way, got no hit for eight plus innings, and then they win 1-0 on a wild pitch. So
that was a great game.
Yeah.
Great game.
We'll get to the lines in a little bit, but Tampa Bay a half game up on Boston. The Yankees win yesterday, so they're 4 back. And Toronto, 5 in a row they've won. They're five and a half back, 4 back in the loss column of both Tampa Bay and Boston, who have 31 losses. The White Sox, they got a win yesterday, 44 the other day against Pittsburgh. They're 2 games up, only 1 game ahead of Cleveland in the loss column, and then Kansas City, Detroit, Minnesota. I cannot figure out Minnesota. Jose Barrios, the only thing good, but they were $1.70 underdog with Cleveland yesterday, and they won the game 4-1. And then in the American League West, the A's split the series with Texas. Of course, we talked about the Houston 11-game winning streak, plus 144 in run differential. The A's 3 games back in the loss column, 2 in the standings. The Mets have a doubleheader today. They're making up all those games that they missed for week 1. They got David Peterson going in the second game. Taijuan Walker, who has an ERA under 2 at home this year. He's going to go up against Aaron Nola at 4 Eastern in about 2.5 hours. That's on my plays. We'll get to that. The worldwide famous unsponsored picks segment that we have. Washington has moved into second place, 3.5 back, 5 back in the loss column. Philadelphia, 3 games under 500, cannot figure out the Phillies. They blew another game to the Nationals yesterday, 2 days ago in the 9th inning. And then the Cubs got the no-hitter. They're tied with Milwaukee. Cincinnati only 4 back. St. Louis lost to Pittsburgh yesterday. And then the big series in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Giants are 4.5 games up, 5 up on the Dodgers, who've lost 4 in a row. The Giants have won 3 in a row. How about that game on Wednesday between Gausman and Ohtani, Charlie? It was unbelievable. It was 1-1 going into the 10th inning. And then it was 2-2. The Angels kept coming back. They were about 30 seconds away and a review challenge away from beating the Giants in that game with a game that Gausman had started, the game that Ohtani had started. Ohtani was incredible on the mound. He didn't do very much at the plate. And then all of a sudden the Giants exploded for 7 runs in the 13th, and that extended their streak to 3 games in a row. They're 8-2, but they're an underdog lack of respect against the Oakland A's. Johnny Cueto going on the mound tonight for the San Francisco Giants, and Sean Manaea going for the Oakland A's. Let's talk about that since we're here in the Bay Area. It's a big matchup, the Bay Bridge Series. Also, the first day that Oracle Park will be 100% capacity, so all can go in without having to worry about showing vaccine cards or anything like that. We're back from that standpoint. You think the juices will be flowing a little bit? I know Giants A's, we know how the rivalry is amongst the fans. How do you think the players are going to be? And both teams playing well in the Bay Area representing baseball very well, Charlie.
Well, this series always gets everybody pumped up, no matter how the teams are playing. But you got both teams playing very well, and so it's going to be exciting. You know, everybody's going to be pumped up, ready to go. Frankly, I'm a little surprised that the A's got the nod. I mean, I know Manaea has been pitching pretty well, but I didn't think he was pitching that well. I mean, it is Cueto, but you know, Cueto pitches pretty well at Oracle. So I was a little surprised at the nod here on this, because Oracle at night is also not a great power park, and the A's rely a lot on power. So I'm not, this game isn't on my card, but if you're interested in this game, I'm smelling underdog. I mean, yeah. I just got to tell you, I am. I looked at that and I went, really? Yeah. So there you go. That's my thoughts.
Let's go to the National League slate we have here going on. We talked about the Mets. Oh, one more note on the Angels and Giants game the other day with Ohtani batting second and pitching for the Angels. Did you know, as I used to say on SportsCenter, did you know that the Angels played in American League Park for the first time in which the National League team had a DH, and the American League team in an American League Park did not have a DH, and they ended up running out of players, and that probably cost them in the 12th and 13th inning because they pulled Ohtani out of the game and they didn't put him in the outfield as an interesting situation. Of course, once you lock the DH in baseball, you cannot move the pitcher into the DH spot. So they lost him for the game, and it probably cost him later on and then Kurt Suzuki got injured. They had already used their backup catcher, Max Stassi, and so they had to move the outfielder Taylor Ward in to catch in the 13th inning, and that probably did not fare very well. Probably had a lot to do with the 7-run 13th inning for the Giants, but good teams take advantage. And one thing about the Giants and A's before we go to the National League games here, Charlie, for some reason to me, even though they're both playing well and they both have their great records, it still does not seem to me that they're hitting the ball like to their potential. You know what I mean? I just don't see – I see the clutch hitting, but I don't see the batting averages like skyrocketing. There's still injuries on both sides. I think the best combination, the best thing that they have in common right now is that both the Giants batters and the A's batters, they are bottom 10 in terms of strikeouts. They do put the ball in play, but they're grinders. They don't give away at bats. The Giants defense is outstanding. That keeps your pitching in rhythm. Starters can go in rhythm without having to worry about the defense behind them and them trying to strike out everybody. The Giants pitchers have great control. They don't walk anybody. That keeps the defense on their toes as well, too. And other than Frankie Montas and Luzardo, Bassett, Manaea, and who's the other starter that started the other day for them? They've all been pitching pretty well. Bassett and Manaea, basically the two guys that are going right now. And it'll come to me. It'll come to me in a little bit. But anyway, they're playing well, but they seem like they haven't hit all cylinders yet either. But they grind out at bats, and they did split the series with Texas. By the way, for the Texas Rangers, how good would Joey Gallo look in the outfield for the Giants with their outfield hitting problems? I know that he's going to be on the block in the next few weeks. Sorry, Texas Ranger fans, but you might be having a fire sale here in the next few weeks. All right, let's look at it. Let's look at the National League slate here. Corbin Burns, who got off to such a great start with all those strikeouts and no walks to open the year. He set a record with 52 strikeouts, no walks to open the year. They're going up against Colorado at home. Funny time start for them on a Friday, 3:10 Central on a Friday afternoon. Corbin Burns and John Gray, 265, 7.5. We mentioned the Mets and Phillies in a doubleheader. The first game, Taijuan Walker, Aaron Nola, pretty good matchup there, 119 for the Mets. David Peterson and Matt Moore, formerly of the Giants, the Tigers, the Tampa Bay Rays, starting for Philadelphia against David Peterson. Miami, 143, Pablo Lopez against the very hot Washington Nationals club. John Lester may not have had some of his best stuff this year, but boy, Washington is an underdog. The way Schwarber's hit and the way it's going right now, you got to think that Washington's offense can overtake Miami a little bit. They did get the victory 7-3 yesterday. Cincinnati and Atlanta. Cincinnati's won 2 in a row. This Vladimir Gutierrez for Cincinnati is going to be really good, and 10.5 might be a lot. We know about Great American Ballpark and the propensity for home runs, but the fact is that they didn't get to 10.5 yesterday. It cost me a game, just like the Blue Jays did. We'll get to that as well, too, in a second in the American League. But Cincinnati, Atlanta to close out the National League. Kim versus Crow, St. Louis and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh got the upset win last night. San Diego, almost 3-1 favorite with Chris Paddock and Kobe Barton going for the Arizona Diamondbacks. I know Arizona's terrible, but $3 on Paddock. Holy cow. And then a bullpen game tonight for the Dodgers after getting no hit. Tony Gonsolin's going to be the first guy out of the mound tonight against Jake Arrieta. 9.5 the total. Don't see 9.5 going over. Just like last night was 8.5 with Walker Buehler and excuse me, and Zach Davies. 9.5. So what's on your National League slate, Charlie? What are you looking at as far as series this weekend?
It's there's a lot of good series. I like that Atlanta Cincinnati series. I think that's going to be a good one. By the way, Houston, I just wanted to mention this. I didn't get it in. Maybe you talked about it yesterday, but Mattress Mac is back. Put down a little over $3 million. I think it was 3.35 for them to win the World Series. And that dude is just crazy, folks. Yeah. If you don't know about Mattress Mac, he owns a gigantic mattress and furniture store in Houston, and he puts down these incredible bets related to Houston teams. And I mean, they're big bets. I mean, when they were last time in the World Series, what was it? It wound up being double
2019. Yeah. And then he won in 2017. So, yeah.
And the thing that's really fun about him is he's got a heart of gold.
Yeah.
When Texas had that crazy cold snap, he opened up his furniture store and told homeless people, "Come in. I got, sleep in the beds, sleep on the couches, right in the furniture store." So he's like 80 years old, and he's just a house of fire. And he loves sports, and he's made a ton of money, and he just bets with reckless abandon. So he's put down over $3 million. He thinks the Astros are on a hot streak, and I'll tell you,
he's not that far off right now.
The way he wins, I'm not sure that I wouldn't jump on his coattails because he doesn't chase bad money.
No.
So anyway, but I'm going to follow Houston just because I think they're worth following. Of course, just because I'm a homer, Bay Bridge series. I've got to stay involved in that. I unfortunately am not going to get to go and cover any of those games this weekend, which is the second year in a row I've missed the Bay Bridge series. So I'm a little disappointed about that, but I am going to sometime in the month of July get to go cover games at both the Oakland Coliseum and at Oracle. So I'm pretty excited about that. Angels Tampa Bay. I'm interested in that one to see what's going on there. And then Cubs Dodgers. I always watch that. I'm watching the Dodgers. I just want to see. I keep waiting for the Dodgers to just break out.
They're injured right now. That's the problem. They got a lot of injuries right now.
But to me, they need to break out.
I think by the All-Star break, once the All-Star break hits and they get some of their guys back, they just got Bellinger back yesterday. He was injured again. He played last night. They got no hit by the Cubs, as we said, some of the National League games. I said, I like the way the Mets are playing right now. Philadelphia cannot figure out Philadelphia. Aaron Nola is a pretty good pitcher, but he's had a rough on the road. All you got to do is watch that Giants game last week that he had in San Francisco. It was not good for him or Alex Wood on Saturday afternoon. In the American League, Toronto's on a 5-game winning streak. They've got Baltimore again. Matt Harvey going for the Orioles tonight. Houston, now with Houston winning 11 in a row, even on the road, they're $2.50 favorites. So 9.5 the total. Framber Valdez, Willie Peralta going for the Tigers. By the way, Jonathan Scope, if you remember him from Baltimore and Minnesota and Milwaukee, he's hit 10 home runs in the month of June for the Tigers. Only Miguel Cabrera and Justin Upton have done that in Tigers history. So Jonathan Scope on fire right now. We still got 6 more days before the end of the month for him to continue his hot streak, and he's playing all over the infield for them.
And that's a big ballpark. That is not
a huge ballpark.
When you hit a home run at the new Tiger Stadium, you've hit a real home run.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Tampa Bay, LA. Tampa Bay back in first place, a bullpen game tonight. Andrew Kittredge against Griffin Canning. By the way, when they ran out of outfielders and ran out of players, Griffin Canning, who's a pretty good athlete, starting pitcher on that staff, he ended up having to go play left field in the 13th inning for the Angels because they had to move Taylor Ward into catch because they went through both their catchers. So that was one thing. And then go ahead, Charlie.
Vasu, I got to give you just a little side story real quick. Not only did they run out of players, they ran out of broadcasters.
Right.
The Giants radio guy, why did his name just fly out of my head? Dave Fleming was doing the 13th inning, and Dave also works for ESPN Radio or ESPN TV as well. I'm not sure whether he was going to TV or radio, but he was at his home studio. Mm-hmm. And he finally had to say, hey, guys, I hate to do this, but I have to go. I've got to do the Dodgers game. So they had to take the TV crew, turn them into a simulcast because he had to jump over and do a network game. So everybody ran out of players.
Wow. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I didn't notice that. Because I was watching it on TV. So we'll see the Dodgers Padres. Yeah, he did the game on Thursday night. Right. Yeah, they're doing it from Oracle Park. And I think when they're doing the national stuff, they're still doing it at their home offices. So he had to leave the park to go home to get ready for that. Hey, Boston, New York, shocking. They're on Fox this weekend again, but they're not on Sunday Night Baseball for the first time in a long time. Cubs Dodgers are going to be on Sunday night. I wonder what happened this year with the Yankees Red Sox getting every Saturday afternoon game and every Sunday night game, but not this weekend as the Yankees are 4.5 back of the Red Sox right now.
No John Shambi.
Where's John Shambi? Oh, that's it. Yeah. We'll get John Shambi on the radio on ESPN for the Cubs Dodgers game. Texas and KC. KC's been in a little bit of a slump. Minnesota, Cleveland. Cleveland still fight. Give Cleveland credit. I think they're shorthanded when it comes to the White Sox, but they're fighting it out. They're 2 back in the loss column of the White Sox, and of course, Carlos Rodon and Kikuchi going tonight in Chicago. 210 favorite, 7.5 for the White Sox, who are in first place in the American League Central. A lot of good matchups in the American League this week, and of course in the Bay Area, Oakland and San Francisco. I'll be doing the Dodgers Cubs game tomorrow for the network. Dodgers Cubs. I think it's Braves Reds and Yankees Red Sox. I think are the 3 games this week, and then I'm not sure if FS1 has a game or not. But I know Dodgers Cubs are mine this weekend, and I'll be looking forward to that as well. So some of the series in baseball that we've got. We're going to get to our picks here in a second, but just some other baseball notes that I'm just thinking of off the top of my head here. The Reds are starting to play a little bit better. That NL Central is going to be a wild race coming down the stretch, Charlie. 4 teams are in it all the way through. Even St. Louis not having their A games right now. For some reason, they just can't hit. And then the Giants, Dodgers, and Padres. I'm still not sold on the Padres, Charlie. They still throw the ball around. I know they've won 5 in a row, but I just don't think that they have the team. Their starting pitching is still questionable to me. And their bullpen's really good, but they have to get to the bullpen, and they should have lost maybe 2 of those 3 games to the Dodgers during this series this week. But I'm still not sold on them. I still thought the Giants were on the same plane as the Padres were, and sure enough, I'm looking good as far as what I said about the Giants. Just because you haven't heard of a player, folks, does not mean that they're not good, because Farhan Zaidi and Gabe Kapler have done an outstanding job with the San Francisco Giants. We got NBA tonight, Game 2 with Milwaukee and Atlanta. 7.5-point favorite for Milwaukee, and of course, Game 7 in the National Hockey League between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the New York Islanders going on. So that's what we've got going on sports this weekend. We're going to take another 30-second break, the worldwide famous unsponsored pick segment coming up in 30 seconds. Vasu Vaddiparty, Charlie O here for the Make the Money and Run podcast for June 25th, 2021. Thanks to Vinny G watching us on Facebook as well.
Skinny Mulligans.
Facebook and YouTube Live. Download, subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, iHeart, Google, Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere you got it. We're on email, mtmarpodcast@gmail.com, and on Twitter @mtmarpodcast. And don't forget our Facebook pages as well. All right, back in 30 seconds with our pick segment, and we'll shut it down for the weekend. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasu, Vaddiparty, Charlie O for Friday, June 25th, 2021. Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Thanks to everybody for watching. Also, download, subscribe on Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere you get your podcast. Just look for that logo, and you can download some of our back shows as we go on. New times for the show: 1 Eastern on Fridays, 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern on Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, and then 3 o'clock Eastern on Mondays. 12 o'clock. We want to make sure we get all the games in. Some of the shows we were doing, we missed out on some of the early games as far as picks and giving you all the information you need to know. We need to do that. We are going to do a better job of getting the games ahead of time for you so that we don't have to give you scores updates. Other shows give you updates. We give you picks. Speaking of which, the worldwide famous, unsponsored, come on sponsors, pick segment right now as we close out the last 10 minutes of the week and the last 10 minutes of the show. Charlie O, you are up with your picks for the week.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump into the NBA playoff game for the night, and I'm doing really well with the dogs, so I'm going to stay with the dog. I'm going to stay with Atlanta +8 as the dog tonight. I'm not sure they're going to win, but I think they can cover that +8. I got them at +8. And I like that. Plus the fact I just like the way they're playing. Yeah. Again, this is a team with nothing to lose, and I like talented teams with nothing to lose. So that's where I am with that. That Cleveland Minnesota game, I'm taking a dog there. I'm going with Cleveland over Minnesota, just because I think Minnesota they're a bipolar team.
Yeah.
Okay. you know, who are they?
Yeah.
You know, they're up 1 minute, down the next minute. I don't trust them. I got to tell you, Vasu, they are my number one team for a manager change at the All-Star break. I have nothing against Rocco. I think he's a nice guy. The players seem to like him, but something's got to change there. Because they got talent, they've got enough things there. They should not be playing the way they're playing. So you can't fire the players, so you fire the manager. So I think that's a change there. And then my third pick is that Atlanta-Cincinnati game. It's Friday night. It's June. It's hot. It's humid in Cincinnati. Ladies and gentlemen, take it to the bank. Go over 10.5 in that game, because no sticky stuff. Spin rates down. It's hot. It's humid. They're in the bandbox. They're going to score runs. And by the way, who's starting for Atlanta? Smiley. He's got a 5.11 ERA. They're going to score early and often in that game.
Yeah, they might end up winning that game. Reds are playing well right now. They did not go over the 10.5 yesterday with Jesse Chavez on a bullpen game for Atlanta and Tony Santillan on the mound. They got close later on.
That was a day game yesterday, right?
No, that was a night game yesterday.
Oh, okay. Well,
that was at 7 o'clock. That was at 7 o'clock their time. So
still going over.
We'll see how it goes. All right, my picks now. Game 1 of the New York Mets starting at 4 o'clock Eastern. Aaron Nola and Taijuan Walker. Taijuan Walker's ERA under 2 at home. Mets play well at home. They've had a little bit of struggle with the Braves. That National League East, they're starting to take hold of it. Taijuan Walker at -119 was the line in that game. Washington Nationals. I want to find odds on somebody that'll tell me it's going to be 1-0 after Kyle Schwarber leads off the game tonight, because I'm sure there's probably odds on it, because I think he's hit 5 leadoff home runs this year already. We talked about his prowess right now the last 15 games, 1397 OPS and 12 home runs, 21 overall for the year, vying for June Player of the Month. John Lester on the mound against Pablo Lopez. Miami does have a tough time scoring. They've lost a couple of games where they shouldn't have lost, but 133 seems like a lot for Washington. They're only 3.5 back in second place now. They moved all the way up from last into second place, and 133 does seem like a lot for me for the Washington Nationals tonight. So go with John Lester. Andrew Kittredge, a bullpen game for Tampa Bay. Angels, don't know what to tell you about the Angels right now. They should be a lot better. They're like the Twins. They should be a lot better than they are with the players that they have, but they just can't seem to put it together. 162 for the Tampa Bay Rays, who moved back into first place by half a game over the Red Sox with their 2-game winning streak. Take the Tampa Bay Rays tonight. Boston with Martin Perez. Domingo Germán is favored at Boston, who's in second place, actually tied loss column with the Tampa Bay Rays, and yet the Yankees are favored with Domingo Germán, who gives up home runs at the rate that the sun goes around the earth every day. You can count on it for 2 home runs. He gave up 2 home runs to the A's last Friday. The Red Sox in Fenway have hit a lot better than they do on the road. Martin Perez hasn't had the greatest year this year, but he started off really well. He's an underdog at home. Take the Red Sox plus 107. They're going to rope Domingo Germán tonight. Oakland A's at minus 108. We talked about it, the Bay Bridge series. A lot of excitement here, not only by the fact that it's Giants A's, that both teams are playing well. 100% capacity at Oracle Park tonight for the first time all year. It's going to be rocking and rolling. I'm going to head up there in about 2 hours to catch some of it and see what kind of excitement there is out there. I'm sure both fan bases will represent very well. And tonight in basketball, I just have a feeling they're going to score a lot of points tonight. I got a feeling that Milwaukee, Chris Middleton can't go cold forever. And the fact that they got to 229 the other day with Middleton shooting 6 of 23 from the field tells me that they can go over 225. Drew Holiday has to have another good game like he did on Wednesday. And Giannis playing great now. The last 4 games he's played great. He had 34 the other night. So over 225 on Atlanta and Milwaukee. And a bonus pick, I will take the Phoenix Suns at a pick'em for Saturday night on the game 4 with the Clippers tomorrow night. We may have a podcast minute for you tomorrow before the 1 o'clock starts for all the – actually, there's no game. There's no baseball. There's no sports until 2 o'clock tomorrow. So we may look for the social media postings. I may have something for you at 1 o'clock as far as our picks. We'll definitely post all our picks. Once again, thanks to everybody for following us on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. You can download, subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. We're going to be here Monday at 3 o'clock Eastern, Thursdays at 12 o'clock Eastern, Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern for full shows, and then we'll have intermittent podcast minutes during the week, and we always post our social media picks as well, too. All right, Charlie, another week's in the books. Have a great weekend with the puppies. I will text you. I will text you from Dodgers Cubs tomorrow, and maybe tonight from San Francisco for Oakland, San Francisco. For Charlie O, I'm Vasu Vaddiparty. That's the Make the Money and Run podcast for June 25th, 2021. Enjoy the games. Have a great weekend. And as always, good luck. We'll see you soon.